I'm Sophie.
And I'm Phaedra.
And this is my best view.
Sophie, what was your best view this week?
My best view is a little bit niche, but I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. My little sister has what I call an emotional support water bottle, which is this enormous thing. Big clanking bottle she brings everywhere. It pisses me off to no end because I will set like a gorgeous table with like coordinated water glasses for everyone and she'll like clank this thing down, and it has ruined many a tablescape. However, I suddenly love this bottle because a new sticker has been added, a My Best View sticker for those who can't see. And I will say we are in good company because just around the corner is MILF, Man I Love Frisbee.
What an amazing encapsulation of your sister's brain.
It's true. But this has really turned a corner for me. Now, whenever she has this bottle, I'm like, it's like product placement. I'm like, turn it out so people can see.
Toward the camera, please. That's incredible. I love that.
And what was your best view this week, Phaedra?
My best view this week was definitely seeing my little kitty cat, Mackerel, aka Mac, recover from surgery. He had to get a tooth out, and he was, as my husband would say, because English is not his first language, he was so poor.
Oh.
You know what? Me and that cat, for reference for people who don't know, I rescued him off the street with my bare hands, and we've been BFF ever since. And I have a soul connection to this cat because day like 2 or 3 of his recovery, I was like, something's not right. He's like not eating well. He keeps like his eyes are like half closed. I was like, something's wrong. And I was petting his head and I'm like, his head is literally hot. And my mom is right next to me. She's like, it's not like, that's just like, he's alive. His head is just warm because he's living. Girl, I took him to the vet and they're like, holy shit, he has an infection. He literally had a fever. I could feel it coming off of his body.
You're so in sync.
So anyway, he got a good little antibiotic shot, came home, and he's been perky ever since, eating so well, and he's just a perfect little angel, and he's almost fully recovered. So I'm so happy to see that.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, shall we get into it?
Please.
Okay, we have Debby and Mido, and before I get into this, I have to say, Debby is really growing on me because she posted the funniest shit on Instagram the other day, which was like a picture of Little Bit with a voodoo doll, her dog. I'm not just saying this because now I'm scared she's gonna like do something to the voodoo doll related to us, but it's genuinely cracked me up. Yeah, it said, Little Bit with her voodoo doll, ready to stick pins into those nasty people saying naughty stuff about her mom. Love. But then when we actually see Debby in this show for the first time, she's wearing a blinged out Apple Watch with a Snoopy background. And I was like, Debby, you are growing on me.
That's what changed your opinion. I know to get you for Christmas.
But it has to be the blinged out one. I don't want a normal one.
Oh, don't worry.
So basically she's texting Mido to tell him that changing his ticket, because he's supposed to be flying tomorrow, I think, but he's trying to push it back by a couple weeks to stay with his sick dad. Mm-hmm. And so she texts him to say if he wanted to change the ticket, it would cost her $3,800.
That's a crazy amount of money.
That's another ticket, like business class. And he just says no comment. And I was like, hey, what is this?
You bitch. If someone, oh my God, I would have called the airline and said, you know what? Cancel the
flight. I know. She says there's a good chance he won't be on the flight tomorrow. And I'm just like so confused on the show when there's these things where it's like he's not answering and I don't know. And I'm like, okay, that in and of itself is like a genuinely terrible sign for your relationship. But okay.
Yes. Can you, I mean, the psychological torture of what she went through, it's genuinely stressing me out. Like the concept of that, it's really, this feels, okay, I don't want to take it too far, but does this not feel like a form of like abuse or something?
No, it really does. And especially because I know he knows what this does to her.
Yes. I really hated this.
So she says that they tried to FaceTime, but it was super loud, so they couldn't really talk. So then she texted him, and like they have another like fake screenshot of the text. She asks where he is. He says, I'm at home. She says, what? He says, what? And then she says, are you joking? Sorry, this man hates you. Like, I don't say that to be mean, but like
he doesn't like you. Like straight up in a like he's the bitch here. You aren't.
Yeah.
But like that's a piece of shit.
I know. So Devin, Debbie's daughter, drives her and Little Bit to the airport to pick Mido up. And Devin also tells the camera that she is concerned that Mido won't be there. Debby does have a USA themed bouquet of flowers. And I will say the commitment to USA themed airport pickups on this show does need to be studied.
Also, her whole outfit. Did you notice? She had these white pants, blue top, and red lipstick.
And gold little shoes. I did notice. And we have the classic airport suspense moment, except for this couple, it actually makes sense because she genuinely doesn't know if he's going to be on the plane.
Oh my God.
And like, I feel so bad for her. She like tried to call Qatar Airlines and they're like, yeah, we can't tell you that information. Like, so Debby at this point runs to the bathroom to vomit.
Oh my God. With little bit came for emotional support.
A little bit. Yeah.
She threw up. It made me so like, I actually was really sad watching this. I was like, Debby.
I know. And it's now 1 hour past Mido's arrival time and he's not there and Debby is sweating and crying.
Oh my God.
And I just like, don't be with someone who makes you feel like this. Like, have you seen, I think it was like a tweet someone put out that was like, if he were your soulmate, wouldn't he get along with your friends? And I kind of feel like I'm like, if he were your soulmate, wouldn't he not make you cry all the time?
Wouldn't he not put you under psychological warfare? Seriously.
And so it's now 1.5 hours past his arrival time, and Debby is still crying in the airport. And amazingly, Mido actually does arrive.
He does.
And like, he frames it as a surprise. The producers are like, so why did you decide to surprise her in this way? And it's like, a surprise? Like, no, this is some fucked up shit. Like, I don't know. I don't know why the producers are even going along with the language of surprise.
I don't know.
But he says he planned this surprise because, quote, I wanted to play with her, like toy with her emotions.
But, I mean, that's when I feel like the mask slipped a little bit because he's like, I just wanted to surprise her and I wanted to play with her. And I'm like,
I know, it's freaky. And then Debbie's like, and I wanted to strangle him. And I'm like, okay, break up.
Hey, listen to that.
I'm like, girl, he had stressed you out so bad, you were vomiting. And now you're going to be like, haha, I wanted to strangle him. It's like, no, at least say it with conviction. You did want to strangle him. I know, like, I hate that she's also like minimizing it for herself. Like, this just makes me so sad.
Also, I have to say, my first impression of seeing Mido in person, when he gives her that hug, he had the fakest fucking smile on his face. He's like,
he has such fake energy.
Yeah, very, very performative.
So he, at this point, is like doing some interviews with the camera where he talks about, inshallah, I will be famous actor in US. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, we already knew that's what you wanted, but like, wonderful.
That's like the first thing you're saying when you get here, supposedly to be with your future wife, is like, I can't wait for my career opportunities.
I know. And then they have him like show off his acting chops by like saying some different famous lines from movies. And my favorite, which was actually, it's been in promos for weeks and like it's fully become a vocal stem in my family, is, you talking to me?
But he kind of says it. Look, I'm not making fun of his accent. I am. But it's kind of funny because he doesn't say like, you talking to me.
No, he says, you talking to me?
You toko no mi. And so people have been writing it out in the comments like, you toko no mi. Like, Tokonomi.
I can't stop saying it.
You toko no mi.
You toko no mi. Something just clicked for me.
What?
He's a bad actor and he's a bad actor. So another thing he says, which of course is not so promising, is, quote, I'm here now, so I think it's time to catch my dream. And of course, I'm also here to marry my fiancé, Debby.
That thing too.
Additionally.
Oh, God. I can't wait for him to be in the interview for his green card. And they're like, so why are you here? And he's like, to be a famous actor. Also, to marry my fiancé.
P.S. Also Debby. And then they're in this interview together and she's talking about how she had to throw up because she was so nervous. And he says, she give me good kiss with flavor vomit. And I was just like, okay, actually wrap it up. Like,
he doesn't respect her at all. He's so rude to her.
He hates her. And then like there's this final moment that I want to highlight, which is they're talking about the surprise, quote unquote surprise, aka psychological warfare. Debby says it was not a fun surprise. And then he goes, it's a fun surprise. And I'm like, okay, so where are we going with this? You guys are not compatible. I honestly have nothing bad to say about Debby because I feel terrible for her.
Yeah.
Like this storyline fills me with sadness, and the last thing I want to do is like pile on to someone who's, I think, in the worst situation of everyone on the show. But I just like can't help but be like, Debby, pick yourself up. Like, Debbie, we can do better than this. We don't need to be with this like opportunistic piece of shit who is so clearly using you. Like,
Yeah.
really breaks my heart.
No, but I literally can't wait to see him make a fool of himself in next week. Like, I literally think he's such a goofy fucker. Like, I cannot wait to see what foolishness he does next.
It's good content. There's just always this like twinge of sadness for me where I'm like, damn, I wish you weren't fucking up someone's life in the process, you know?
And you know what? Let's really emphasize that, because I really hate the way that so many people, and maybe we've fallen victim to this sometimes, but like I hate the way that a lot of people who watch this show are like, well, she's a stupid bitch for falling for it. And I'm like, yes, of course we can wish for her to have more boundaries and like a bit more discernment when it comes to this. But at the end of the day, the person doing the wrong thing here is him. He's taking advantage of her and being a liar and being an opportunistic freak. I really want to emphasize we don't like him.
There's also one thing that I've actually been thinking about in different contexts before, but kind of feels relevant here, which is just like, I really think this Prince Charming fairy tale that we sell to young girls in our culture is really, really dangerous, because it really plants the seed in a lot of people's brains from a very young age that like a perfect, amazing man is going to swoop in and save your life. And I think it's just really hard for a lot of people to shake that, even if you don't think that you would be influenced by such a silly concept. I think a lot of us have this in the back of our heads somewhere, that like your life begins when a wonderful, handsome man like plucks you out of obscurity and makes you something. And as much as I obviously wish that she would be able to, you know, have better discernment, have a little more awareness of like, okay, I really think this guy just wants to come to the US. Like, in a way, I can't fully fault her for falling for something that we've all been so socially conditioned to believe in.
Yeah.
You know, because like in a way, this is so aligned. This handsome actor, you know, picked her, and he like, and it just breaks my heart.
Well said, but depressing.
I know.
That's very true.
But let me tell you, Debbie, you already have a Prince Charming who's actually a Princess Charming, and her name is Little Bit.
Yes. Our princess, our angel. I love that fucking dog.
I love her.
Shea and Anabelle.
Yucky and yuckier.
These two.
I'm so sick of them. I want them off my DM screen.
Thank God I'm covering them, because I actually am obsessed with them. Like, I get so excited when they come on screen. Maybe I just like gross shit.
Maybe you can just do their part and I just like turn off the call and I'll join back later.
It kind of remind me of this show that I used to be obsessed with when I was like 8 years old, called I think it's called World's Dirtiest Jobs. Do you know? Sorry. Do you know that show?
No, I didn't have a TV growing up. I don't know anything.
Oh no, bitch, I had the DVD. I also didn't have cable until I was like in high school. I don't know why my parents had this DVD, because I would put it on, my mom would be like, turn it off, turn it off. It like freaked her out so bad. It was just this freaky guy going around and doing like the grossest job. So he'd go into like a septic tank and like play around with the poop and like pull out something that was clogging it or something like that. He'd do like the grossest fucking jobs. I was obsessed with it as a kid. And I feel that Shea and Anabelle are exactly that vibe to me. I can't stop watching.
Yeah, I don't know that show, but it does explain a lot if you have been conditioned with that, because for me, this is my first time seeing such a dirty job. So I'm still acclimating.
Okay, so now that we've thoroughly just shat on, as it were, these two, let's get into it. So we have the toughest start to a section yet, which is Anabelle in bed with Shea asking him how he's been satisfying himself for the past 2 years.
And I don't even have anything to say here. I'm so done with this. Like, I am becoming something beyond asexual, like watching this. Like,
you need to become like a born again virgin. You need to call Aisha up, see how that works.
And honestly, I personally think 90 Day Fiancé is a very funny show. And I think there are generally things that are funny in a really like subtle way. Like there'll be like a little shot of something that I'm like, oh, that's so funny. And I think I struggle with this couple because it's so like in your face, like gross out humor. There's something where I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I don't really like that, like in your face gross things. And like, it's every episode with them. I'm like, okay, please, can I have 1 week of peace where I don't have to like see this man's whatever's happening with his skin and like like watch them talk about his penis. Like, please, Lord, if I could just have 1 week of freedom from this nasty fucking shit. Like, it really activates me because like I have a pretty like high tolerance for reality TV, and like this, I'm like, I don't even want to be associated with this. Like, I hate that it's on our podcast. By the way, I had a bunch of relatives over a couple days ago, and I was like, you guys should all follow my podcast. They open the page, they go, washing a penis? What the hell? And I was like, it's not even what the podcast is supposed to be about, you know? I don't even think they followed us.
Your cousins were going to, and they're like, Sophie's into some freaky shit. We can't support this.
So like, this is like genuinely hard for me. Like, if I like am not speaking that much in this section, it's because I'm doing like yogic breathing. Like, it repulses me so fucking much.
You're literally Debbie at the airport trying not to vomit, which we'll talk about later.
With that said, Miss Dirty Jobs, please take it away.
Oh, baby, I will. I got stuff to say about these two. So anyway, to answer Annabelle's question about how he's been satisfying himself, Shea lies because we know that he's been cheating on her, but he says, you know what men do sometimes.
Yeah, cheat.
Well, actually, yeah, he didn't say masturbate, to be fair. He's like, you know, pat on some other girl. Okay, so we have a couple interview now, and Shea tells the camera that Annabelle is too shy to have phone sex. And I have to say, that's shocking to hear because she doesn't seem shy about anything.
I don't think she's shy. When they like a second later, they say she lives with like 8 people. So I'm like, you're giving her too much credit for her, like how much of a prude she is.
So now they get out of bed and Annabelle dresses him like a baby again. Last episode, we were seeing her undress him to get in the bath, and now we're seeing her dress him. Does she brush his teeth in the morning?
Oh, I just hope someone's brushing his teeth.
Actually, we didn't cover that. Do they do baby play, like sexually? Like, are they doing age?
He's wearing like a big cloth diaper with like 2 giant like safety pins.
Annabelle, I'm hungry. And then he starts sucking on her tits like he's a baby breastfeeding.
Okay, I've decided that from here on out on this podcast, I want that thing that like crime witnesses get on true crime shows where like my face is blurred and my voice is disguised.
We're filming you from the back.
And then they're doing some freak shit.
Okay, and then continuing in the interview, Annabelle says to him, what do you think? I'm your fiance or your mommy? And Shea says, sometimes you feel like my mommy. And they both laugh. Ew. Okay, so they're now leaving the hotel in a car.
They're talking about hunting deer, which somehow Shea segues into talking about food in general and the fact that Filipino food is rice-based. And he tells her that she doesn't need to like always eat rice when she's here because there's alternatives for rice, which are bread, fair, potatoes, fair, and onion rings.
the 3 main food groups.
The concept of onion rings being at the base of your food pyramid is crazy.
I mean, it's a carb, I guess. Also, at one point, I think he says, like, I couldn't eat rice for the rest of my life. It doesn't even taste good or something like that. And I'm like...
He's like, it has no flavor. I'm like, yeah, famously, it's a vessel for other things.
But also, white rice does have flavor. Whatever. I can't even... You know what? The fact that me and Shea don't overlap on food taste, thank God. Thank God. Like, if we can't be the same. Also, sorry, I love the way he's like, you don't have to eat rice anymore. Like, they don't have potatoes and bread in the Philippines. I'm like, yeah, she has those options there too.
She wants to eat rice. I know.
It's a version of the American disease, right? Where it's like, well, now that you're in America, you don't have to be how you were before, care about your previous culture at all. It's like, yeah, no, maybe she likes rice.
I'm so happy these people can come to our country and eat onion rings and beef tallow cake.
Annabelle, eat your rice. Enjoy it. So now in the car, Shea suddenly brings up his daughter Allison, who he describes as kind of bossy. And Annabelle tells him that if Allison gets an attitude, he should just tell her Annabelle because she'll deal with it. And I'm like, ooh, I actually do believe that. And they arrive at Shea's house. And on the outside, I noticed there's word art. Don't worry. It says live, laugh, bark. It's awesome. Gonna get that for my mom. We are word art connoisseurs. It's like a matter of just counting every time we see it in the episodes.
And at this point, I'm having a thing where I'm like, oh my God, they put it out there just for us. They know we hate it.
And they get in the house, and in an interview, Annabelle is like, oh my God, when we walked in, it just like looked so messy. There was dog fur and stuff everywhere. And I don't know. It just wasn't that crazy. Like for context, Allison, Shea's daughter, was there like taking care of her kids, like watching the dogs, you know, while they were out, I guess. And there were like some toys around, but it just didn't look that messy.
I actually disagree with you. I'm Team Annabelle for this because the kids, like she walked into the living room and the kids had their toys everywhere. And like, I just don't really get it. They live next door. Why did they need to come here and make a big mess here?
I mean, yeah, I kind of didn't get why Allison was even there at all. My best guess was just that maybe Shea's dogs get like nervous being home at night alone. So maybe she was there for them.
First of all, that she could take the dogs to her house, or I feel like she could come like visit the dogs. I don't know. I will say, like, I run a tight ship when it comes to leaving for travel, coming home from travel, etc. And I feel like the worst thing after a long travel day is coming home to a super chaotic place.
Seriously.
And I just feel like it was a little bit disrespectful to her to have it be like looking like shit. Like the dog hair, okay, that's his own dogs. So like that's inevitable. But I did think like if I walked into my new home and there was just like children's stuff everywhere, I think I would be a little like, oh. I felt like it was a bit territorial because I feel like when you are like welcoming, I don't know, like even like I've like visited like your family or whatever, and they have like, I'm staying in a room that's like clean and there's like flowers. Like I feel like that's like the polite thing to do to welcome someone is like have a clean space for them.
Yeah.
So I did feel like it was a little passive aggressive from Allison's side.
So anyway, Annabelle says that she really likes the kitchen because it's so big and it has an oven. She's never had one before. So she seems excited about the house overall, even if it was a little bit messy when she got there. And then Shea and her go to the bedroom. And for some reason, his daughter is still there. She's just like following them around room to room.
I was also surprised by her presence. Yeah.
Talk about territorial. But one amazing thing in Shea's bedroom, by amazing, I mean horrifying, is he has 4 deer heads on each corner of the bedroom, like on each wall. It was horrific. They're just staring at you in bed.
Also, like, honestly, obviously, I'm personally opposed to dead animals as decor, but you can imagine, I don't know, like a beautifully mounted, like, tiger head. Like, I can kind of see the visual appeal of it, I guess, for like a royal palace from whatever century, you know?
Sure.
But like, there's so many deer heads in one place. Like, it doesn't even look good. Like, even setting aside my own beliefs about it, like, it looks visually bad. It's a lot of heads.
It's really oppressive. Yeah, it's really like, also like, I feel like in the middle of the night, you're going to get up and like bonk your head on it. They were not even that high up.
I know.
Weird. Annabelle says that it's a lot. She doesn't really like it. She's like, I don't know why there's so many dead animals in this room. Yeah, girl, me neither. Now we see Shea give Annabelle like some jewelry gifts. And his daughter Alice in an interview says that she's surprised that Shea got Annabelle so many gifts when she doesn't get that from him. And I'm like, bitch, she has this really crazy emotionally incestuous relationship with her dad.
I was literally going to say emotional incest. Like, it's a bit much because, yeah, why would your dad be showering you in jewelry for no reason?
It's weird. I feel like jewelry, like, it's kind of romantic also.
I agree. Also, he was like showering her with like diamond earrings and a gold necklace and blah, blah. And I'm like, well, why would your dad just like randomly buy you all that stuff?
It's also, Allison, you're his adult daughter who he had to buy a house for because it seems like you can't afford it otherwise, who he is like letting live there for free. Also, we see later in the episode, spoiler, giving money to for no reason. Why the hell would he give you gifts on top of that? The gift is he's allowing you to live there free and like taking care of your kids with you, as it was revealed in the first episode. Like he helps with childcare. He's not doing enough for you? Like, how spoiled are you? My God.
I know.
Why are you so attached to your dad and letting him spoil you like a little brat at your age when you already have children yourself? Like, it's crazy to me.
And like, honestly, if money is really tight, like I get accepting the free rent. But if I was getting free rent, I would be like, oh my gosh, how can I pay it forward? How can I show up in a way that feels reciprocal? I wouldn't be like, oh, can I also have diamond earrings and a gold necklace and just some cash?
Also, like just Allison saying this standing in their marital bedroom, it's just weird. It's just a weird vibe.
I agree.
And so anyway, Allison says that her kids are getting cranky, so they're going to go home. And I'm like, yeah, you should have left like half an hour ago. But she asked Shea, can I get a couple dollars? And he hands her a few tens. And they leave, and Annabelle is looking really weirded out and asks Shea, why did you give her money? And he explains that, oh, you know, Allison probably doesn't have cash at the moment, and it's Sunday tomorrow, so she'll probably just go with her kids to get biscuits in the morning. And I'm like, it's a weird assumption. Like, you're really like assuming a lot here. And Annabelle tells Shea that Allison, his daughter, is a grown woman. It should be the children taking care of the parents, not vice versa. I assume she means like adult children, of course. And I will say that's a very cultural belief. Not everyone believes that. I'd say in general, in East Asia, I've noticed that's the belief, and she's from the Philippines, so it makes sense. But this is definitely a cultural difference. However, I feel that almost doesn't matter because it's like, even as an American, the situation that Shea and his daughter seem to have is weird, like culturally here too.
Agreed.
But I was kind of living for how much like Anabelle was already on Shea's neck about it. When it's like the first incident she's seen, I was like, interesting.
She's like, so we'll be cutting her off soon. I was like,
okay. And in an interview, Anabelle says that she doesn't want to be an evil stepmom, but this needs to change. And back in the moment with Shea, Anabelle tells him about Allison that, quote, she's a troublemaker and you know it, and I'm not happy about that. And again, I'm like, whoa, I do agree with Anabelle overall, but she just comes in so hot in a way that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But love the drama. Cannot wait to see what happens next week. Or for your benefit, Sophie, I hope that we get a break from them, but I can't wait to see what happens next time they're on my screen.
A break from them, or at least a break from seeing their naked bodies.
We need a trigger warning up front. You know, like how like before Game of Thrones, it would be like sexual violence, nudity, crass language. We need that for this show, but specifically about Shea. Will there be a bathtub happening?
It's taking years off my life. I mean, I can't even talk about it anymore. Let's move on. So next up we have Mallorie and Raşit, and I have to say I struggle with how I feel about them. I have incredibly conflicted, nuanced feelings about this, so I'm excited to get into it.
Same.
The episode starts, they're still in Turkey, and they're going to see Raşit's best friends. And it seemed to me like Mallorie greeted his friends in Turkish.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too.
I was like, okay. And again, just the basics. They did switch to English at some point, but it seemed like she was making the effort to at least be able to, you know, show that she's trying, which goes a super long way and is so not a given on this show that I have to give her credit for that.
Totally.
She's also talking about how much she loves Turkish food. There's like only one thing she doesn't like, but she's still very respectful about how she speaks about it.
Yes. And they were like together with the friends, they were eating Turkish food and it looked so fucking good. I was so hungry watching this.
I know. And his friends are worried about him in general going to the US, and Raşit shares two of his own worries. One is that he's worried about not being able to be the head of household when he first moves because he won't be able to work. And the second worry he has is that Mallorie is friends with her ex, Brandon. Mallorie clarifies that he's just a good friend and they didn't date, but they were friends with benefits. So like that does count for something, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's not the same as saying he's just a friend.
I know. Something in between. But then Mallorie shares that she was in a very serious car accident a year ago and she needed to have surgery, like significant surgery.
This was horrific. And it was with like her friend's mom and their, at the time,
Their baby.
7-month-old. They didn't say that anyone passed or they didn't mention anyone else's injuries, but it sounded horrific. They showed pictures of the cars while it was completely totaled from the front. It seems like another car came like from the other direction, came into their lane and just crashed into them. She said that she, in emergency surgery, had to have 3 feet of her intestines removed.
Yeah. It's, I mean, obviously a super traumatic thing to happen. And she says during this time, Brandon really stepped up, took care of her dogs. And so because of that, she really values him as a friend and doesn't want to just throw away the friendship because Raşit says so.
I gotta agree.
But they're setting this up to be a pretty big conflict because they're both extremely firm on their stances.
Yeah.
And Raşit basically says, like, when they're married, he's going to set ground rules. And she's like, well, I don't want a man telling me what to do. And then she says, quote, you're not going to sit there and control me. This isn't Turkey. I'm like, whew.
That's a tough one.
And look, I tend to agree more with Mallorie in this instance, but it's not who I agree with. It's like, okay, you guys have super opposing views on things. And it's clearly more than just about the friendship with Brandon. It's about what level of power does a man have over his wife? And I think they have different beliefs on this, which is like, in my opinion, fairly significant. So yikes.
Yeah.
So the next section starts with the classic 90-Day Fiancé sex retrospective, laying in bed being like, gosh, we had so much sex last night.
Yeah.
Who's doing that?
Remember the sex we had? Oh my God, we were up all night sexing.
That was such a sex and so much of it. And that's like literally how they talk. It's so weird. Anyway, they have this interview together where he's talking about, when she left me, I closed my belt and didn't open for 6 months. It's like, well, yeah, I fear that is the expectation. So they're now going to Raşit's sister's house to say goodbye to his whole family. And because the family can't be at their wedding in the US, they're doing some Turkish wedding traditions now, which I think is a really lovely gesture.
Yes, I really enjoyed this. It was very sweet.
And the family brings out coffee and salt for a tradition where basically she puts salt in his coffee and he drinks it, and it signifies that life isn't sweet all the time. And it's like to make sure that he is up for the challenges even when life isn't sweet. And then Mallorie goes off with the women, and he has like kind of boy talk with his brothers, and I don't know who else is there. And he basically says to them like he's going to the US because that's what Mallorie wants, in a way that like, I don't know if that's just what he's saying to make his family feel better. I don't know that it makes them feel better.
Yeah.
But it is kind of odd that he's not saying he wants to go to the US.
Yeah.
But there's like another big conflict is brought up, which is that the brothers want to know how he's going to be able to continue sending money to their parents if he's not working, because we learned that his parents lost everything in an earthquake in 2023. Like, they don't have a home. They're currently living in a container.
Yeah, like a tent, it looked like.
And so he says like, okay, I need to talk with Mallorie and see if she'll be willing to give the family money. So obviously the hope is that once he gets a job, then he will be able to support his family. But I will say I am genuinely worried about his ability to get a job given his level of English.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm not even saying it to be mean. I just like, I've not heard this man say one clear, fully coherent sentence without having to throw in some Turkish words.
Yeah. And also the fact that they're moving to a somewhat small town in Alabama that, as far as I know, wouldn't have like a large Turkish population, you know, not like New York or something where you could figure out a community where you could get a job. But
I guess he can do like manual labor. I guess probably his English is good enough, but I'm a little bit worried about that.
Definitely limited in what you can do.
This is one thing that I kept coming up for me is like the stakes feel really high with this couple in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So obviously he's very sad to leave his family. And like we see this scene of him actually leaving, and his mom is actually breaking my heart. She's tears streaming down her face, and she's like, I know he's grown, but he'll always be my little boy. And she says the pain and love is indescribable.
I know, it was really sad. I didn't like to see that.
And then in the next section of them, we see them in the car, and they're making some jokes about like, you know, because Raşit is stressed about not having the ability to work, and he's saying he needs his visa like accelerated, and he makes some joke about going to Trump to ask him for a visa. And I was like really trying to get a read on their vibe.
Me too.
Because he's like, oh, Donald Tubb. And she's like, Donald Trump. And he's like, yeah, Donald Trump. I'm going to ask him for a visa. And she's like, oh, you're going to like go knock on the door of the White House? In a way that was like kind of neutral. Like, I think if she were super anti-Trump, I think already she would have been like, oh yeah, good luck, Trump, you know, like, but she also wasn't like, he's such a great guy, he would do it if he could. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. The jury's still out on Mallorie, but
anyway, so back to this conversation. They're in the car talking about the fact that he's not going to be able to work. And he asks what Mallorie would do if his mom called and said she needed money in the time before Raşit's working. And he was like, what if my mom needed 10,000 lira? And I was like, that sounds like a lot of money. But I looked it up and it's like $250 approximately.
Yeah.
Just for context. And I thought Mallorie's response was fair. Like, she said they would need to talk about it first because she has a mortgage, car payment, bills, etc.
Also good for her. She's a homeowner.
I know. And it does seem like she is not opposed on principle to supporting the family, but she does ask why she's just now learning about this expectation, which I think is really fair.
Especially because the earthquake happened in 2023. Like, you've had years.
I think it's also just like in general a cultural expectation in a lot of places that you just send money home if you manage to move to like a country that has more opportunity or more high paying jobs. Also here Mallorie is saying she thinks that there's maybe unrealistic expectations of what life is like in America because yes, you make more money, but also you have to spend a lot more money. Yeah. So, and then he like, I thought this was a bit manipulative on his behalf, a little bit. I don't know how you felt about this. They had this conversation. She says, I don't make that much money. And he says, you know, my family lives in a tent.
I know. I don't know how I feel exactly because I get both sides. I mean, if your parents are living in a tent, you would think about it every day, right? Like you would be wanting to do anything.
I feel like you're like going to a restaurant and you're going to be like, wait, no, I'd rather send this money to my parents who live in a tent. Like
seriously,
I of course understand where he's coming from, but it's tough. It's a difficult attitude to have if you're not aligned.
Also, if you're not the one making the money and paying the bills, like I guess I could understand him saying something like that if he said, first, Mallorie, let's sit down. I want to understand how the money is coming in and going. I want to understand once I'm there too, how that will change because she's going to have to be supporting him as well. So she's going to be even more thin for money. Like, I would like him to take the agency of being like, let's sit down with a spreadsheet, walk me through exactly how much everything costs so that I can understand, like, does she have any money to put in savings, you know? Because like, okay, and then maybe if I see that she can put $50 in savings every month, maybe I can ask, would you be willing to send a portion of that to my family? And then if she says no, being like, okay, T, like, it's your money.
Again, it's different if she has an incredible amount of disposable income. I mean, it's still her money at the end of the day. They're not married yet. But, you know, if she knows she has tons of money coming in, like, it would be nice for her to contribute. But I do feel like he has this expectation without even clarifying what the details are, which feels like a recipe for disaster. And like, also she's saying like she doesn't know, like she basically says something along the lines of like trying to imply she can't really help them, right? Like she just doesn't have that much money. And he says she can help, but she just doesn't want to. And I just feel like this is not going anywhere good. And like, I have to say, I softened to Mallorie in this episode somewhat, but this is exactly what I was cautioning myself against, where I was saying like, I don't want to lose sight of these big things that matter to me, right? Like, I think it's so lovely that she's learning Turkish, that she's interacting with his culture, but like, I still can't get over the fact that she's bringing him to a place where he's not welcome, to a community that does not, probably largely doesn't want him there. And like, he is being endangered in significant ways. Like, it's so hard for me to overlook that. And I'm really curious to see how this storyline develops, but this is a difficult one for me because I have super conflicting feelings about it. And I also, in seeing some of their conversations this episode, I feel like he has a lot of red flags I'm not loving. I don't like this patriarchal streak that he has. I think their communication is terrible, which is to be expected because clearly neither of them fluently speaks the other's language. But also there are, at this point, multiple things where they just seem to be diametrically opposed. You know, the topic with the friends with benefits Brandon, the topic with sending the money. Like, I don't see where they go from here. So I'm very curious to see what happens with them.
I totally agree. Like, also the way, we didn't really highlight it necessarily, but in their couple interviews, they were almost fighting with each other. Like, the vibe was very tense. She was like, and I'm not saying unfairly, but it was getting to the point where like, she would be like, well, if you think that way, then maybe we won't even get married. And it's like, whoa.
It was adversarial. It was not just like cute little banter. It was definitely like, oh, am I interrupting something?
Up next, we have Marissa and Edward. So Marissa's ex-husband, Michael, is over at her house in Pennsylvania to pick up their kids for summer camp. And the two of them sit down to have a conversation one-on-one. And Marissa, in an interview, says that Michael is a great dad, but for her wasn't a good fit for a husband, which I think is a really good way of saying it.
I really like the way, at least from what we've seen, they speak about and speak to each other.
It seems like they had to put in work for that to be the case, for them to have a healthy co-parenting situation. But honestly, so far it's coming across that they've been very successful. It's just always nice to see. I am curious how long ago they got divorced. Did they say? Did you write that down?
I don't have it. I don't know.
That's something I'm very curious about. And Marissa basically, you know, they sit down in the kitchen to talk, and she says that she wants to talk to him about how her life is about to change like so much and how that will affect him and the kids and just the whole dynamic and everything. And Michael, her ex, says it's not something he's looking forward to, but basically he has like no choice. So like, yeah, they have to figure this out. And Marissa emphasizes to him that she just wants to keep the peace. Like, she wants this to to go well. And Michael, in an interview to the camera, says that his kids told him about Edward, not Marissa. And I think that kind of started him out on the wrong foot with this. He didn't appreciate hearing it from his children, not her directly. And Michael asks her if Edward is ready for everything. And he says that her family is very wealthy and points out her $1 million home that they're in right now. And he says, quote, it can make you feel a certain way. And that he didn't feel like he fit into her family because of it. And he felt like a loser. And Marissa, to her credit, validates that and says that she knows how it made him feel. And I don't know, it kind of like was breaking my heart. Like, I don't know all the details, but it just always makes me sad when, especially like when finances get in the way, like almost for no reason. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, there's enough to go around. Like, people are good financially, but it's like, oh, the haves and the have-nots. And like when people can't get over that, you know, whether it's the person with less money or the person with more money.
I mean, it really does affect the way you go through the world. Like it shouldn't be prohibitive in relationships, but it really is a big cultural difference, you know?
Absolutely. And it makes me extra sad if it's at least the way that it's discussed in this conversation. It's not that he couldn't adjust to Marissa having more money than him, but it's that her family made him feel bad for not having money himself. Like, that makes me sad.
I agree.
And it doesn't make me feel super hot on her family already. So I'd be interested to meet them. I assume we're going to, but it makes me like scared. And Marissa in an interview says that her parents are very affluent and she's very used to like going on nice vacations and just, you know, living a rich life from a young age. And she thinks that this will probably also make Edward feel insecure. And this is interesting because actually I was messaging with Marissa directly from our podcast Instagram. And I asked her if there was anything that was like left out of the first episode or the first two, I forget. And she said that in one of the car rides that she was having with the cameraman, she talked a lot, like the 2-hour drive from New York to her home in Pennsylvania. They were talking about her and Edward's financial situation. She said that she just gave a lot more context there that she wishes people would have been able to see because she felt like it gave a lot more context.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Just putting it out there that this is something that she is like openly talking about and aware of.
It also is just a good reminder that like all we're seeing is the edit. And like, yes, I think the things that we're seeing are things that did truly happen or were truly said, but so much context can be missing. So it's a kind of a good reminder of that.
Totally. And Michael, her ex, acknowledges that he might have an attitude when Edward gets here, but the only thing that will make it a problem is if this whole situation adds stress to their kids. That's mainly what he cares about. And in an interview, Michael says that he is planning to have a man-to-man conversation with Edward when he gets there. None of this is giving me like a huge red flag. I mean, I think the ex was coming across as a little bit intense, but I can't say I fault him for it. I feel like he's very protective of his children. And like there are cameras here. I could see feeling like having your defenses raised. Like, are my children going to get taken advantage of or portrayed weirdly or something?
I didn't have any issue with what was actually happening in this conversation, but on multiple occasions, there's been hints at like potential anger issues, like something along those lines that I don't love. But from what I've seen here on camera, I really didn't have any issue with him. I thought it was like a pretty reasonable conversation given the context.
Mm-hmm. And I loved that they were speaking so openly and honestly.
And I also loved that it was very clear for both of them that the kids are the priority.
Yes. Yeah. And now we have the next section with Marissa, and she is telling the camera that she wants Edward to feel welcome. So she's wrapping a little gift for him. She's about to go to the airport to pick him up, which is so exciting. But the gift was kind of cracking me up. I want to know what you thought of it. But she's like wraps in a little gift box very prettily a house key that she's going to give to Edward. But then she like tells the camera that actually the key doesn't even work because she just has like electronic locks on all the doors. And I'm like, what key is this then? Like, why are you giving this to him?
I agree. I thought it was kind of funny that it was like a fake key. However, one thing I could really relate to is she's like, I don't want to bring him like a stuffed animal or whatever, because like I really do not love the like default gifts for like Valentine's Day or like airport pickup, like, you know, like the classic things everybody gets. So I can appreciate that she's like, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do my own version of things. But I did think it was funny because I felt like there was probably something else you could have done. Like, I don't know, like an item, a food item from a local place, or like something that's like still functional in some way
that he can use. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It was just kind of cracking me out because I'm like, okay, period. But it was sweet. Like, I don't know. She wanted to give him something. And so basically she goes to the airport. She's so excited. She's waiting for him. And Edward walks out out. He's here. Marissa's so excited. She like drops her bag and runs to him. That bag stressed me out so bad. It was just on the ground in the airport the whole time. I was like, can you go get it?
The unattended bags in the airport, that's a repeated theme for us.
Yes. This was very Mahdi from last season. Anyway.
I did not know what to expect from Edward, but I really liked him.
Yeah.
He had a really fun spirit to him, which I was like, okay, I kind of get it.
He seemed kind of fun and like, yeah, I agree. I know. I see like the chemistry between the two of them as well, which is important.
Once we met him, something kind of clicked for me, which is like, okay, on one hand, you could make the argument like she's super rich. Like if she's going to be with someone who has so much less money, like, you know, why would you do that? There could be like an imbalance. Maybe he's using her for her money, whatever. When I saw them together, I was like, but you know what? When you're that rich, the last thing you need is more money.
Yeah.
Like what she needs is like fun and joy.
Yeah.
And so seeing them, I was like, you know what? Honestly, I get it. Like, why would she want to date some like boring finance guy from New York, which would just be like an extension of her daily normal? You know what I mean? Like if she's happy single, why would she want a random man who's like the same stuff she's used to when she like, so that kind of clicked for me. And I was like, okay, I see it.
I feel like it's almost kind of fun to be a woman where that's the case, where if the guy has money, that doesn't really affect if you're going to be with him or not. It's great because you truly get to marry for compatibility.
It's kind of freeing. Yeah, I guess I was worried about her being a victim of something. Like
Sure.
I was worried he was just like, oh, hell yeah, rich lady. Like,
Totally.
but when I saw them together, I was like, no. Like, I really do get this relationship. I don't think she's a victim of anything. I think she knows what she's doing. And I think he's providing something very specific to her life, which I like.
Yeah. So we get our first interview with Edward here at the airport, and he explains to the camera that this was his first time on a plane. And he tells this funny story where on the plane, he kept like, he was in the window seat and he kept opening the window like a million times. And then he realized that people around him were so annoyed because this lady next to him was like, hey, can you stop? Like, it's really bright. Can't like sleep on the flight. And he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know. And she was like, is it your first time on a plane? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, I could tell.
Okay, but like, let's leave it closed though.
Yeah, can you fucking
No,
stop?
but that was really cute. And,
I
like,
know.
He shared a few little anecdotes like that, and I could tell like, okay, he's a funny guy. Like he's a life of the party kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely lighthearted, which, you know, as Marissa has brought up, she's worried about if he'll be able to kind of deal with the things that are going on in her life that in comparison, she has described as being hers being real problems, his being like not really real problems, which we've talked about what we feel about that phrasing, but like I kind of get her.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious how they'll functionally fit into each other's lives.
Yes.
But at the very least, we've gotten confirmation that the vibe is good between them, because that's not a given on this show.
Yes. One of the few. So she gives him the key and she explains already. She's like, yeah, it doesn't really work, but it's just like a symbol. And he's like, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Like, I think he thought it was a little bit weird, but he understood it was a nice gesture. And they have a little couple interview at the airport. And Marissa says that sometimes she thinks that the K1 visa process is partially so hard just to test the relationship and see if you can endure it. And I have never agreed with something said on the show more. I completely get her. The US government makes getting a visa so unbelievably fucking hard. The fact that it's even this difficult if you're in a bona fide relationship is bizarre. Like you look at the EU and other countries I can think of too, and it's like you can get a partner visa with someone you're not even married to. Like in Korea, where my husband is from, if we ever wanted to move back, it would take like 6 weeks to process this. It's so easy. There's no reason it has to be like this.
I know. I mean, I have the privilege of having a dual citizenship, so I don't need any sort of sponsorship through my partner to be here in Europe. But people who do come here, it's so easy.
Yeah. Like literally people would be like, oh, like I hooked up with this guy in France last year and I decided I want to move there. So he just got me like a visa. And I'm like, what? Like, that's how it should be. But I'm like, what?
I agree. No, it is kind of like a humiliation ritual in the US.
It really is awful. There's no excuse for it too. Like it literally is just based in like the American government thinking that we're the greatest country on earth and like, oh, well, everyone wants to be here. So we have to make sure it's not scammers coming here. Whatever. But that's a whole other podcast episode. But I agree with her. And I'm happy that Edward is here. What a freaking relief for her and him both. And I can't wait to see what happens next week.
I know. They're really growing on me, I will say. So we have a new couple this episode, Thomas and Paula. Thomas is 31 and from Long Beach, California, and Paula is from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and she's 41. So 10-year age gap. Paula owns a very successful piercing business in Brazil.
Another boss-ass babe, a la Amini.
Kind of like the main, or one of the main plots here is that she believes in manifestation, and she manifests by owning miniature versions of things. Like if she wants like a nice apartment, she'll manifest by like buying a mini furniture. And I will say, I feel you can relate to the non-spiritual element of that, because I know you love miniature everything.
Yeah, as soon as this miniature just came out, I got so excited because I do love miniature things. And then she started talking about how it was manifestation and spiritual. And I was like, oh, mama, you lost me real quick.
But okay, I actually have a question for you. I don't know if this is like objectively true, if it's just my cultural conditioning. I have a very high tolerance for like spiritual universe woo-woo, because I feel like there are certain like Northern California circles that are like that, and like that I kind of grew up around. I mean, we both grew up in the same place, but I feel like my community was more woo-woo than yours.
Yes, I come from a family that's been atheist from like my grandparents' generation on both sides. So spirituality and all that is very far removed from like my family culture. That said, one of my sets of grandparents were hippies, and my mom as a result has a lot of resentment to hippies. So I grew up with my mom just bitching about that. So I actually am a pretty big spirituality hater. I'm literally not saying that's good. It's just true about how I am.
Interesting. Because I was kind of watching this and I was like, am I supposed to think this is like as crazy as Asia? Because I don't. But I don't know if that's because of my cultural conditioning. Like, I don't know. There was something with this, not to like get too much into the weeds about my opinion before even telling our listeners one single thing that's happened, but there was a vibe throughout this whole storyline for me. I don't know if you felt the same way, which was like, I kind of felt like the producers were trying to make things seem crazier than they are with this couple. Like there were multiple things where I felt like it was like framed as like, isn't that crazy? And I was like, actually, I think they're like fairly boring so far. Like, I don't think that's so crazy. And it kind of reminded me, you know, the meme of like that woman with like a bag of frozen peas on her head or whatever. And it's like, she's so crazy.
Can't take her anywhere.
Can't take her anywhere. Like that was kind of the vibe I had with some of this stuff, where I was like, is it a little bit like weird? Like, yeah, sure. But like, is it weird enough that I care to like, I can't wait to see what happens with this? Like,
totally,
no.
I totally agree. I think for me, I know that I just get annoyed by like spirituality stuff, but I don't think it's immoral or even uncommon. Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's like less interesting than like Pentecostal or whatever. Like, it's just kind of like, okay, like, I don't know. A lot of people do like vision boards, you know?
If Paula starts speaking in tongues, okay, call me back. I'll be interested. Also, the thing is,
to be honest, when we're introduced to Thomas, he's rollerblading. And I'm like, actually, a man rollerblading is more significant to me than her like woo-woo stuff.
Also, in those tight ass faux Guatemalan shorts, what the hell? Like yeah, I agree. He was quite a character already, way more than her.
I just think I don't like to see a man on tiny wheels. Like a bike is fine, but I'm not interested in rollerblades, scooter. They met when Paula was on a 1-week vacation to LA, and they were in the same beach volleyball class. Again, I love an organic meeting.
Yeah.
And they were friends for years, and then they were pen pals, and eventually that relationship turned romantic, which I will get back into. But as they're describing this arc, we see Thomas and Paula on FaceTime, and he's like freestyle rapping to her.
I did not like that.
And it's like, okay, there's a word that kept coming up for me related to Thomas, a German word, Geschmackssache, which is like, I guess we have it in English, but I feel like it's stronger in German. It's like, if something is a matter of taste, where it's like, I can't say that this is like morally bad or like that this man has anything like objectively wrong with him, but like the rollerblading and the freestyle rapping like is not to my taste.
Another word that was really coming up for me with him is performative.
Oh, yes.
He came across as super, super disingenuous to me. Not in the sense that I think that he doesn't love Paula or anything like that. I don't know, maybe, but I don't feel that way at the moment. Simply that I feel that when he is on camera and like speaking with the camera, whether that's in an interview or just like he's walking around his house showing the camera stuff before Paula gets there, it felt very disingenuous in just a way where I was like, oh, you're a guy who moved from North Carolina to LA. Maybe you wanted to be an actor or on TV.
Yes, I would agree with that. He was always kind of like hamming it up and like really speaking to the camera in a way that I think. So looping back to their story, he ended up visiting her in Brazil, and on that visit asked her to be in a romantic relationship, but she had a boyfriend.
How do you not know that?
I know.
And like, how deep was this friendship? Like, y'all were pen pals for, he said, like, I think 2 years, but you didn't know she had a boyfriend? It's
Maybe he
crazy
did know.
No. Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe. I got the vibe that he didn't, but I guess that's true.
I also got the vibe he didn't, but maybe he did know and he just was hoping she would give him a chance anyway, and she didn't. But then later they broke up and she decided to give Thomas a chance. And 2 years later they got engaged. And you know what? I can appreciate a reasonable extended timeline.
Yeah, no, I love how long they took. I was kind of surprised.
They frame this as like, how will they cohabitate? Because he is really into eating meat. She's vegan. He's a minimalist, quote unquote minimalist in the way of single guy who has one pillow and no top sheet. She loves knickknacks. And then when they're talking about knickknacks, he like shows this little knickknack she purchased for him, which is like this little positivity poo, which is like this crocheted little poop that has like a nice poem. Like, again, this is the kind of thing where it's like, it's definitely not harming anyone, but like, I personally hate this shit. Yeah. Literally shit. But that's their, you know.
Also, I do have to say, when Thomas is describing the differences that he and Paula has, he cracked me up because he says this quote, Paula and I have differences, especially around philosophies. And I'm just like, oh, good. So you guys think differently about the world in a way that, like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't know. I'm just like, that doesn't really sound like the basis of a really strong foundation for a relationship.
And talking about philosophy, like one of the biggest conflicts we've seen so far is that she believes in manifestation and he doesn't. And like on the topic of manifestation specifically, she's repeatedly talking about that she manifested this relationship and that she had a checklist. And among other things, her checklist was included that she wanted to marry a gringo. That's her word she used.
And I wanted to make sure that we commented on this accurately because gringo is a term, obviously, like I know I've heard of before, but I feel like it's one that's easily misconstrued. So I went directly to the source. I have a very good friend who is from Brazil, Mari. So I asked her last night, in her opinion, as a Brazilian, is this number one like a weird comment to make? And then also, what is a gringo? Like, does that mean just a non-Brazilian, or is it like a white person in particular or anything like that? So my friend Mari says, gringo is just a non-Brazilian. We use it even for people from other countries in South America. There's a lot of misconception online thinking it's a slur, but it just means foreigners, white or not. And she also said, for what it's worth, in her opinion, Paula's comment of saying that she always wanted to be with a gringo, it's not that weird to her. It doesn't sound offensive. Or she did say for a lot of Brazilians, dating or marrying a gringo is a way to move to a quote unquote better country and life, since if they're here on vacation, they probably have money. That's not the situation here, but just for what it's worth. And she says, whether that's ethical or not, I'll leave it to you to discuss on the pod, lol.
I honestly, it was one of these things where I just felt like, of course, I have the association of gringo as a white person. That's what I thought. But I feel like, who am I to comment on it? Like, even if that was the case, you know what I mean? Like, the social hierarchies in this world are so complicated. Everyone is swimming in these cultural contexts that I think every country experiences to different degrees. So, like, I don't feel like I can comment on that. But knowing that it's not specifically a white person, I feel like that's, to me, better. But I don't know. I don't care.
I mean, this is like a ramification of colonialism, essentially,
Totally.
right? Like, it's, first of all, our fault, you know, widely, like the global north. And then, yeah, like people looking for a better life. Why would I ever look down on that? And especially if you're able to get that through a romantic relationship and hopefully there may actually be love there. What the hell would be wrong with that? Of course, that's a part of your consideration. I mean, you would be a fool for it not to be, right? So I think that only makes sense to me.
I agree. And also, like, I feel like almost every country, even if there isn't the element of like the sort of global hierarchy, people just like have the idea that it'd be fun to marry a foreigner. Like, a lot of people have that. So it didn't really strike me as anything crazy, but I like having that additional context. So going back to the show, like, you know, what's being discussed, we cut to Thomas's apartment and he has a really stressful little dining setup that we see, which is like a foldable camping table and then 2 yoga blocks for a chair.
And this camping table is like 4 inches off the ground. It's really, he's squatting.
And I just will say, at least we know for sure there's not like another woman secretly living here. This is a single man's apartment, period.
Yeah, it's so funny how earlier he's like, I'm a minimalist. And I'm like, girl, you don't want to buy more furniture. It's really easy to be a minimalist when you have no furniture.
So in the next segment with them, I just kept having this feeling of like, again, I don't think Thomas is a bad person, but he has this 20-something finance guy who meal preps chicken and broccoli energy.
You know, he loves Soylent.
I know, it's just hard for me because like that's a group with whom I have almost no cultural overlap. So I'm like, okay. And like then in the next scene, he's making a gluten-free beef tallow cake. And I'm like, y'all, producers, this shit is crazier than her manifesting. Dude, I don't want to get too into it, but like the nutrition advice men are getting online is insane. You certainly do not have to put beef fat in your cake.
Surely not.
Surely not. I mean, that doesn't sound right to me.
I'm like biting into chocolate cake and it's just like with beef tallow.
It's like bone marrow in it or like what? I don't even know.
Also, why are you making a beef tallow like bread or cake or whatever for your vegan girlfriend?
However, he is preparing a little vegan meal to bring to the airport for her. He's making beans, tofu, and rice, which I think is very sweet.
Yes.
And then it's sweet. We get the airport pickup. He has this big Brazilian flag.
He's the first person who brought the flag of their partner's country instead of just an American flag. I thought that was nice.
I really liked it. And he's like screams, "Welcome to my city" in Portuguese, which is so sweet. And they're both crying. And like, I will say this is a couple. I see the bond. I see that they love each other. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I will say this was another thing where I was like a little annoyed with the producers. So he has the beans in like a coffee thermos and he gives her the beans at the airport, and it's like, and like clearly the show is trying to make it like this crazy thing of like, oh my god, he brought beans to the airport. Like I even saw this clipped on the social media and I was like, sorry, I just don't think this is that noteworthy.
It's actually nice because he knew that she was going to be hungry.
Yeah, and like it's nice that the beans were warm. Like, I don't know, I feel like with this couple maybe there'll be more drama. I'm curious, but for now it feels like the show is kind of like scrambling to find things to say about them.
Is this season Stevie and Mahdi where you're like, okay, like it just feels manufactured, like the drama?
Yeah, I think it might be. But that was the end of that. I'm curious to learn more about them.
Yeah, let's see. We end with Catie and Josh, and it's a short little section, but a nice little check-in nonetheless. So Catie and Josh are waking up the morning after their night out, hanging out with her friends, drinking, of course. And as a result, Catie is hungover. Josh is bringing her water. He also looks a little rough, but she's definitely doing worse than him. And in an interview, Josh says that he isn't fully sure what to think about last night because Catie was a bit, quote, brazenly complimentary about some of the guys she's hooked up with. Josh is a very kind, demure person.
It's very diplomatic.
There's a lot harsher things he could have said, but yes, he phrased it like that. And in the moment, Catie asks him if she was too crazy last night, and I can't remember most of it. She is giving me the worst anxiety ever. Like, I am like stressed watching her because she's like, oh, but do you think anyone like thought I was weird, or like, did I do anything? Did I like offend anyone? I'm like, oh my God, girl, please stop. But relatable. And she says that she also doesn't remember getting in the cab or even getting home to the hotel. So she's like blacked out.
This is very stressful to me.
I just have to say the normalization of blacking out when drinking is quite disturbing to me. And she's not the only person who does it. This is like a cultural thing. But
no, I agree. Also, this is neither here nor there, but just one thing I want to add is like while they're having this conversation, Josh is cleaning up the hotel room and packing because they're leaving the hotel. Not him like folding the decorative American flag that she brought, like according to flag code or whatever, like in the triangle. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and Katie's like, oh, you could just stuff it in there. You don't have to fold. And he's like, I like to fold things. And I'm like, oh. It just, I don't know. They don't have a huge age gap. She's 26 and he's 30. But there's sometimes these couples where even when the age gap is not that big, it feels so much bigger because of, I guess, maturity level differences or something. Like she comes across as so much younger, and I think that he comes across as older.
There's something I'm starting to get frustrated with this couple and their edit, which is like, so I don't think Josh is an idiot. And I think the way that they're showing this couple, like Josh would almost have to be an idiot if like this is the entirety of their relationship, right? Is like, yes, she's just hooking up with other guys and getting blackout drunk, and he's just like, oh, it's cool. Like, so obviously there's more to the relationship. And like, we're now 3 episodes in and I'm like, I don't know if I just feel a little parasocial towards them or what, but I'm like, I feel like the edit is getting to a point where I'm like, okay, obviously a lot of these issues do lie with Catie. Like, I get that. I believe that the behaviors she's discussing are behaviors she is engaging in. Like, I'm not saying that they've made that up, but I'm kind of like, I think it's weird that we're a couple episodes in and Catie is still presented as such a one-note character, because I'm like, there's gotta be more to her. Like, and I'm sure we'll see it. I don't know. I hope we'll see it with time, but like, this episode was one where I kind of was like, I feel like I'm struggling to really comment on them. I mean, I will comment on them, but because I'm like, I feel like they're just intentionally leaving out a lot of stuff that's happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. At the very least, the dynamic that I kind of see that we're not necessarily seeing all of, but given like comments from both of them, I think what happens is Catie messes up a lot, but then is very honest about that and shows feelings of regret and like apologizes to Josh. And I think that Josh is an incredibly patient person and very understanding. And I assume that that is why they've gotten as far as they've gotten, is that I don't get the vibe that Josh would like put up with her behavior if she didn't show genuine remorse and like a willingness to change.
I also have to imagine Katie's not messing up 100% of the time. But so far, that's all we've seen. Okay, this is like, I know sometimes I'm too woke, but like something that's coming up for me with this couple is I'm like, I don't want to be like glazing a man and like shitting on a woman when I'm like, I know there's more nuance here. And like, yes, with what is presented to us, is Catie the driving force in a lot of the conflict? Yes. But I don't want to let myself get into this thing of like, Josh is an angel and Katie's some bitch. Because like, I just know in my heart that's not the situation. And like, I don't know. So again, I do agree. I think there is a maturity gap to your point, but I feel like there's just so much I don't know that it's like, I'm kind of getting meta about it. You know what I mean?
I would not be surprised if the editors are leaving out moments of maturity that Catie is showing.
Yeah.
To form a stronger narrative around like, she's such a mess. And like, yeah, I think she's kind of a mess, but I don't think, to your point, that that's all she is.
Yeah.
So Catie, we do hear from her now. In an interview, she tells the camera that she feels horrible when she can't remember things after drinking. Like, she's worried if she offended anyone or hurt a friend or Josh. And even if there's no proof that anything happened, her brain will make stuff up that could have happened. And to me, this was sounding like OCD and like anxiety stuff. So like, I was really feeling for her, because when you get in that kind of like anxiety spiral, especially post drinking, it really is.
This reminded me that I wanted to also praise Josh for something, which is there was a moment where Katie's asking like if she was annoying people, as you mentioned, and he basically said like, are you asking because there's something specific in mind, or is this like an OCD thing pretty much? And like, she says, yes, an OCD thing. And like, I thought that was just cool that he could recognize that it was an OCD pattern. Like, clearly they know each other very well. So I like that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think with OCD, it's important to not get it validated all the time from people around you, even though like, I totally understand that's a hard thing to expect people to help you with. But I think it's very helpful if you do have someone who will kind of push back and be like, this sounds like you're kind of doing an OCD spiral. And Josh tells Catie in the moment that he thinks that being on the same page about drinking is good as they get toward marriage. For example, they need to be stable before having a kid. And yeah.
I also, something that just came up for me in this moment is we as viewers have seen a lot of montages of like Catie drinking, Catie being drunk, whatever. This is their first night living together. And she went out drinking, you know, they went to this party together. And the next morning he's already flagging like, I think your drinking is an issue. That's actually quite quick and responsive. But I feel like because it's first happening 3 episodes in, it seems like it's taken longer than it did.
And that's a really good point. I would not be surprised if this is something that Josh has been pondering for a while, even though they've been long distance. Because I mean, just given the way that they met, and I'm making assumptions here, but I get the feeling that Catie is someone who's often drinking or telling him stories about when she's drinking. And actually, it's reminding me that from what she said, like every time she's kissed someone other than him during the relationship has been when drunk. She's drinking. Yeah. So I bet he's putting 2 and 2 together and being like, it's only happening when she's drinking. And then he's coming with that mindset and then seeing it happen, not kissing someone else, but he's seeing her kind of go too far with drinking the first night that they're there. And I bet he's like, okay, this is confirming like a worry that I had. So props to him for bringing it up. But it's a really good point that you bring up that actually this is like right after he got there.
Like, I just think it's interesting because I think we as the viewers were able to identify this as a drinking problem in some way before they talked about it. So I feel like it almost makes you as a viewer think like, oh, I figured it out before he did. But like, if you actually think about it, like, no, we didn't. You know, that's all. I thought that was interesting.
Really good point. And Josh in an interview says that it takes a lot of energy to deal with the absurdity of your loving partner being such a ferocious party girl. He just always has like this like the nicest way to say it. Like he's never talking down on her, even in these private moments. I feel like he understands who she is and is like, yeah, but can be tough. Like that can also be hard for me as the partner.
I really like him and I really want the opportunity to like Catie more.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Because like I feel like he seems like he knows what he's doing, and I'm like, I want to trust him. We haven't seen what it is yet, and like I don't know. I know that not everyone is watching this show and like going through everything with a fine-tooth comb in the way that we are. But sometimes when people are like, "Oh my God, like why are you with her? All she does is drink and blah." I'm like, well, okay, maybe there's more that you as a viewer who have seen 20 minutes of this couple ever, like, yeah, maybe there's more that we haven't seen. You know what I mean? Like, yes. And again, I don't want to gloss over the behaviors that we have called out, because like there are problems in the way Catie shows up in the world, and especially in her relationship.
But he knows it, and she knows it too.
And I think that's what kind of kills me, is people being like, hey, has anyone noticed, like, this doesn't seem to be such a good thing? It's like, well, yeah, everyone has noticed that. So I feel like they could be given a little bit more credit for where they are and like where they're headed in their journey of dealing with this.
Also, I have to say, people frustrate me so much when it comes to mental illness, because I think it's fabulous that generally in the mainstream, we're trying to destigmatize it and relieve the taboo and everything like that. But people lose sight of the fact that when you're mentally ill, you're annoying. You do stuff that's annoying. You do stuff that's hurtful. You do things that are not socially acceptable. And that is part of what makes it a mental illness, right? And it just cracks me up when you have this woman who is open about having a mental illness and everyone's like, she's acting so annoying and mean. And it's like, yeah, she's mentally ill.
You know what this is reminding me of? Yeah, people are like, oh, why can't her OCD make her do charity work? No, but like, you know, when there was that, I don't even want to get into the whole details of it, but that horrible incident at the BAFTAs with that man who has Tourette's.
Yes.
And people are like, why did he say that word? Why couldn't he have said a nice word? And I'm like, okay, like, that's just literally not what this is. Like, it's just literally not what this is. Like, yeah, of course we can talk about like how this was allowed to happen and blah, blah, blah. And like the structural failures, like for sure. But like, not like, why didn't he pick a nicer word? It's like, well, I fear you don't understand what this is at all.
Yes.
I fear if his specific form of Tourette's was just like, he shouts out compliments, it like, there wouldn't have been a documentary about him. You know?
Yes. And I think I would encourage people to understand, like, yeah, when you're mentally ill, you're really annoying and you deserve respect, compassion, and love at the same time, and treatment, right?
Yeah.
So give her a fucking break. Like, I don't know. She's acknowledged that what she's doing is wrong. And I'm not saying she's handling it perfectly. I don't think she is. But
I think, you know, we've talked about this before. Like, I really do like this framework of like explanation versus excuse. Mm-hmm. But like, and yes, I don't think her behavior is 100% excusable if she's not mitigating it. But like, it is certainly like an explanation for at least some of the stuff she's talking about. And I find it funny when people reject it as even an explanation.
Yeah, they're like, that's not it. She just wants to get other dick. And you're like, well, okay, so.
Or like at the very least, when she's talking here about like that she repeatedly needs to ask for reassurance. Like, I 100% buy that that's part of her OCD. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, like that, you know what I mean? Like, we're seeing examples of like, okay, that is clearly her OCD manifesting. And I just think it's funny when people are like, I don't know. Like,
it's
when
annoying.
People are like, yeah, well, yeah, it is.
Yes. That is the point. To your point, I hope that we get to see like more good sides of Catie, because I know that they exist and I'd like to get to know them more.
And it's just like specifically for me as a feminist, I'm like, don't make me hate on a woman and like a man with no nuance. Like, please.
Yes. It's not that one is a hero, one's the aggressor. Like, they're both nuanced, complicated people, as we all are.
That concludes our recap for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I am having such a blast this season. I really am enjoying all these different storylines and everything. So I'm excited to see where a lot of these go. And I'm just so grateful to all of our listeners for joining us on this journey.
Thank you so much, everyone. Please go ahead and make sure you're following us wherever you're listening to us right now. Give us a rating, a comment if that's possible. Please also go ahead and follow us on social media. We are at My Best View Pod on everywhere, including Twitter, but ignore that. That is just for me to yell at YouTube. We don't endorse.
Speaking of YouTube, I do want to shout something out. A lot of people have told me that they prefer to watch in video form. And if that's you, we are on YouTube, but over there we're My Best View Podcast.
Girl, okay, maybe I'll change that. We're something over there. We also are just MBV Podcast because YouTube's a piece of shit. And that's why I have to yell at them on Twitter. They won't let me change the name. Whatever.
So just try searching a bunch of different stuff and eventually you will find us. But just so you know, we are on there.
Yes. We can't wait to see you next week.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.